The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, it's me, Rob Rosenthal. Welcome to the Hot Lunch Podcast. Wednesday night, hot lunch. It's not really about lunch, though. I got to be honest with you. It's really about every single kind of food that there is in the world. It's Wednesday. It's lovely. It's time to talk about food. And I'm your host, Rob Rosenthal. I'm glad you're here with me. I'm going to tell you before we start off here a couple of things. One is that if you want to call in, you can. We're going to try that and see if that works. So here's your call-in number, 800-508-5431. Got that? I'll do it again. 800-508-5431. Now, let's see. There's so much to talk about in the world of food. Let me give you a sense of what we got covered. What we're going to cover tonight. One, if you were on death row, what would your request for your last meal? Now, I know that the idea of death can be morbid, but when you juxtapose it with your last meal, that becomes a pretty vivid fantasy. I think we should talk about that. So that's one thing we got tonight. The second thing we've got is coffee versus cannabis. I think it's a discussion that we need to have as a people, as a culture, as a country. Coffee versus cannabis. Notice I say versus. 3. Subject 3 this evening, ladies and germs, is my weekly, and it's only week 2, but my weekly, I am the Costco ho. And so I give you a recommendation from something that I picked up this week at the Costco. Subject number 4 is about a very specific chef, a celebrity chef, whose name is Jose Andres. We have to speak a little bit about Jose Andres. Number 5. Number 5 is food in the sense that it's about our weight, like fit or fat. That's what I want to talk about, fit or fat. I will take a minute out at some point to give props to tonight's sponsor, the people from King's Row Coffee. Just an excellent product. Number 6, if we have time, I want to talk about what the heck we should eat, which is both a subject related to our confusion about food in general and a new book that came on the market just recently, actually entitled, What the Heck Should I Eat? All right, so those are the 6 subjects if we end up getting to them all. And as I said, if you want to call in and, kick in and ask a question on any subject related to food, eating, dining, snacking, culinary, all that kind of stuff, 800-508-5431. Okay. Hey, first up is the subject of if you were on death row, what would be your last meal? And the question comes from a community, an online community that I am part of. Somebody asked a question, and I like the question for exactly the reason that I mentioned before, which is that it has you kind of fantasizing about the stuff that you could have if you could put one, like, totally perfect, awesome meal together. So, I don't know, before I tell you mine or you think about yours, I want to give you some of the answers that I saw in this community that I thought were interesting. So someone says pizza, fried chicken. This is somebody's last meal. Pizza, fried chicken, onion rings, anything ridiculously fatty so I could fall into a food coma and not care that I was dying. So there's you got two things here. You got the practical part of it, which is the food coma, so that you don't care that you're dying. But more importantly, some of your basics, hard to argue with pizza, fried chicken. Next one up says her death row meal is seared tuna soaked in balsamic vinaigrette with raisins and pine nuts on a bed of baby spinach, white bean and potato puree, sauteed asparagus and garlic, and a nice bottle of red wine. There's a lot to say about that. I mean, can't argue with the red wine. That's a pretty sophisticated and precise menu. See, tuna, balsamic, vinaigrette, sauteed asparagus. I don't know. Wouldn't be my choice. Not a thing on that list outside of the red wine would be of interest to me. Here's one for you. Your lamb roast with roast potatoes, note, roasted in duck fat, pumpkin, carrots, peas, corn, gravy, and lots of mint jelly. This is somebody's kind of like comfort food. I get it. Then you get the whole lot of people that are going, lobster, filet mignon, rare. Well, that's important. Asparagus, ice cream, and good caramel sauce, and some cashews. I think that was the thing that I mean, like, lobster and steak is kind of your basic. Ice cream is hard to argue with, but I love that this one ends with some cashews, because it really underscores the importance of nuts. Like, I know if I'm going in, I would, if it was the end and I'm picking my meal, I want a martini. I want like a dry gin martini, olives twist. But I actually like the idea of the cashews. Maybe some pistachios with them. Like that part of the cocktail experience to me. What you're noshing on with it. That's some meaningful stuff right there. Here's another one. Prime rib, roasted garlic, mashed potatoes. Yes, soft rolls with butter. Apples stewed in sweet red wine, coleslaw, and a pitcher of Lef beer, and a bottle of single malt scotch for dessert. Well, you know what? Respect. Nothing wrong with any of those things. Prime rib, garlic mashed potatoes, some soft rolls in butter, a little coleslaw, which is interesting. Some beer, but I'm gonna, then somebody wants to finish that off with an entire bottle of single malt scotch. I like that. Here's one for you. Lasagna. This is somebody's dessert death row meal. I'm sorry. Lasagna, creme brulee, cheesecake, blueberries, strawberries, chocolate covered Oreos, and maybe a salad. So this is the most nonsensical answer of all of them that I saw online. I get lasagna. I can understand creme brulee, and if you're a cheesecake person, fine. Chocolate-covered Oreos starts to delve into the trash. I have no problem with that at all. But to close it with, and maybe a salad, that's totally left field to me. Here's another bacon. Bacon followed by a bit of hot Italian sausage, caramelized crispy duck, Carolina pork, without the sauce, because I need the room. Topped off with brisket as my dessert, and not a freaking vegetable in sight. My cholesterol may tank me first. So there's one for you. It's kind of funny. That's your bacon, sausage, duck, pork, death, kind of combo. Then you get another dude with the prime rib, but this one wants fresh horseradish. Oh, and the lobster tails, of course. A real crispy tater tots. I like that. And a gelato, and a pistachio gelato, a regular Coke, and an IPA or two. So the regular Coke kind of stood out there. I'm not saying I wanted it at my last meal, but I understand the value of it. Here's one for you. Death row meal. Somebody writes margaritas. I'll tell you. Nothing wrong with that. Mama's fried chicken, Granny's banana pudding, and some oysters. Throw the switch. I'm officially done. Yeah, once again, your fried food shows up. Grandma's cooking comes in there. Love me some oysters. Ribeye steak, smashed roasted potatoes, green bean casserole, stuffing, gravy, shrimp with lobster sauce, and wait a second, a Big Mac and fries with ketchup. Oh, and creamy macaroni and cheese and a lobster roll. Just a bite of each. I don't know if they give you all that at your last meal, but I kind of understand the buffet aspect of it, everything but the kitchen plate. And finally, this one kind of, I got to be honest with you, because like if you think about your last meal, a lot of these themes are common. I want the steak and I'll have the lobster and that kind of stuff. But here's somebody's last meal, and if it was my last meal, I don't think I would complain. 6 chili dogs, which shredded sharp cheddar, a pile of onion rings, a half gallon of ice cold A&W cream soda, a homemade pecan pie, and an egg-claire. All right, look, aside from the egg-claire, if someone said, I need you to sit down, here's the meal, 6 chili dogs with shredded sharp cheddar, a pile of onion rings, a half gallon of ice cold A&W cream soda, and some homemade pecan pie, you go, you know what, that's okay. I can do that. Some pecan pie in here. I'm going to give you mine. Think about what your death row meal is. Here's mine. I have to have pizza. Let me honest with you, I'm not going to say the only thing I would have, but I suppose if I only had one thing, it's going to be the pizza. I'm a purist, so I'm totally fine having a nice slice, regular. You want to make it Sicilian, I'm not going to argue with that. I don't need a lot on it. Do I like it with clams? Yeah, sure. But if I'm going, it's the last one. I'm going out, margarita, basic slice, maybe Sicilian. My second thing on my list, though, is Peking duck. You know what I'm talking about, right? When you go to one of those Chinese places that makes the Peking duck and, they put it in that soft kind of wrap, that soft wrap. What do they call those mushu pancake things? Cake, But what goes in it is important, right? Because it's predominantly like crispy roast duck skin. It's like so crispy that it's like it cracks, right? Cracks. And what else goes in there? Maybe a little bit of shredded duck, which is so fantabulous. And then a little bit of hoisin sauce, because you need a little bit of that like slightly sweet element. And then maybe some scallion, you know what I mean? You wrap that whole thing together and it's like, I don't know, man. That's beautiful food right there. Peking duck. That's going to be on my menu. I feel like if it's the last meal, I wouldn't mind throwing in some caviar. Like really super great, Russian beluga caviar. Is there a right way to have caviar? I mean, aside from just, putting it on a spoon and dropping it down your gullet, I think, yeah. I mean, you know what it's good on? Sure, it's good on a little blini, a little pancake, maybe a dollop of creme fraiche. I mean, that's fine. That's good. But I worked for a guy once who was kind of a elitist, world traveling dude. I liked the guy, don't get me wrong. But when it came to caviar, his thing was you get a nice, fresh, like chewy baguette, and you smear it with some like high quality butter, right? Because there is high quality, there's regular butter and there's great butter, right? So you smear a perfect baguette with some great butter, and then you just dump on the caviar. You have it that way. Caviar on soft baguette with super high quality butter. Yeah, that would work to me. The thing is, like, if I were going to have that, though, I would really want ice cold vodka. There's something about, like, vodka when it gets, like, super ice cold, viscous. You know what I mean? That, like, syrupy. That goes so beautifully with the salty intensity of the caviar. Yeah, that's good food right there. I want some fried food at my final meal. I want some fried food. What's the best fried food? I'm gonna go. There's three best fried foods, right? One's gonna be chicken. One's gonna be some form of potato fried. Is there a best third fried food? I'm gonna go. I'm going fried clams. You know what I mean? There's a lot of places you could go with fried food, right? I got your chicken, I got your potatoes, but what that third thing is, it feels seafoody to me. Fry some clams would be good. Oysters would be fine. Shrimp. You know what? Giant, crispy, fried freaking shrimp. Yeah, that'd be so really good. My death row meal wants to include some pasta. Everybody has their favorite. I'm not imposing anything here, but I went to Italy recently, and I had a plate of pasta that was the best I ever had. It was the amatriciana. So that's a sauce that's made with like a tubular ziti, and the sauce is essentially composed of the local Roman cheese, which is to say pecorino romano, salty sheep's milk cheese, and it has in it just beautiful pieces of guanciale, right, which is the kind of the jowl, right? It's the porky, like, it's not bacon, it's not prosciutto, but it's of that family because it's coming from the jowls of the pig, and when it's made right, it's just salty and beautiful, but texturally, it is the combination of like chewy and crispy, right, and bacony with that cheese and that pasta. I need some of that at my last meal, and I'd rather have all of that food than to have dessert. But you know, as long as I'm this far in, I don't have any problem with some nice high-end ice cream. You know who's making some good ice cream these days is Talenti. If you can open the package, fantastic. And I'm a sucker for a simple dessert, which in my case would be biscotti. Biscotti. That is my, I'll have all that. Some pizza, some Peking duck, caviar, vodka, maybe a martini, some fried food, some pasta, ice cream and biscotti. And then maybe after, I don't want to get carried away, but it is a food fantasy, and like I don't know, a glass of port, or even better, you know what I like? I like that dessert wine. Give me a nice Chateau d'Yquem, one of those sweet dessert wines, man. That's then you can turn on the switch and say goodbye. Because that meal, hello, that's beautiful. Give me that meal. That's my death row meal, ladies and germs. Thought that I would talk to you a little bit about your coffee versus your cannabis situation here. I bring this up because we have a drug problem in this country. I don't think I need to prove that very hard. We talk a lot about opioids. The problem, but it's not the only one. We're addicted to pretty much every drug that there is. If you watch television these days, if you happen to turn on the television, one of the remaining broadcast channels, you'll see commercials for drugs somewhere along the way. A drug for almost everything that there is in the world. I don't know. Toenail fungus and can't sleep, can't eat, depression, your teeth hurt, your eyes are no good, you're leaking out of your anus. Is a drug for everything in the world and we're addicted to it all. Everything. There's not a drug that we're not addicted to in this country, and we like the alcohol too, right? Which is Americans like drugs. Let's face it. But if you want to know what is the most commonly used, potentially overused, misused drug, it's your caffeine, ladies and germs. We're certainly addicted to that. 2/3 of Americans using it every day. You know about caffeine, right? You drink it, you get a buzz. People talk about it as their fix, right? You don't have it, you know, people can't even function. They go into withdrawal. You drink coffee every day and then ever try to stop and you get that headache? Crazy, painful freaking headache from withdrawal. Yeah, no, we're addicted to the coffee. People can't function without it. And the thing about it, it's fine. You know what I mean? I drink it. I drink it. I like it. It serves its purpose. I'd like to think that I'm not necessarily addicted to it, but that's silly because anytime somebody says to you, oh, I'm not addicted to it, and then you go, well, can you go a day without it? And the truth is that they can't. You can draw your own conclusion. My problem with the coffee is that it's a gateway drug, right? I mean, you start off your day with a cup of crank. It's just a matter of time before you're moving on to the harder drugs, your Ambiens and Viagra. Next thing you know, you're falling asleep with a 4-hour erection. No sense. And I came up with an idea some years ago, which was to criminalize coffee and not cannabis. Now, you can see that there's already a movement to not criminalize cannabis, but coffee is still readily available. So my idea was to just kind of turn all your coffee shops into dispensaries. Because caffeine, problem, I don't know. You look at marijuana and you're looking at Willie Nelson and Snoop Dogg and Bob Marley. People, I don't know, people would chill. And apparently it's some kind of medicine. But my theory was, I would just turn these Starbucks into dispensaries so that instead of going in for like a cup of brew, you kind of saunter in for a bowl of Bud, and instead of drinking Colombian Supremo, you smoke Colombian Supremo, and that kind of thing. You ever go in there and you see that they sell their Pike Place roast? I say no to that. I don't need Pike Place roast. You know what? Grind me up an ounce of that Alaska Thunderfuck. That'll be fine. Take that to go. Right? I don't think we need a barista. You go in there, you get a patista, and ask for a doppio. That's what I'm talking about. But just a thought. This week in Costco, they were selling, and when I say I'm a Costco ho, it's because I am. I go every week, which is fine. A lot of people go every week. I'm more committed, though. I mean, my family and I took a vacation in Hawaii. I mean, we were literally in Maui, and we could not pass the Costco over there in Maui. We are going to lay on the beach and swim with the whales. We passed the Costco. We just couldn't not go in, right? So on vacation in Maui, we stop into the Costco, and the thing you have to really super love and appreciate about the Costco is it's localized. In other words, even though most of your chains, your industrial strength chains, sell the same product, universally across the system everywhere you go, Costco kind of localizes it, which is cool. By which I mean that if you're shopping at a Costco in New York, for example, and you happen to be in an area that's heavily ethnic, you'll see a lot of ethnic food. When I was in Maui, right, you go in there, and I can't begin to tell you, they had a poke bar. I mean, it was like raw chopped up fish. There were macadamia nuts up the wazoo. Like, so the beauty of the Costco is their inclusion in the inventory of local product, right? So up there, pineapples, if you're in Maui, right, you see a lot of pineapples and the macadamia, all that kind of stuff, man. It's great. Anyway, this week at the Costco, I see something I haven't seen before. Last week, I think I told you about the Autumn's Gold granola, which is, fabulous. This week, it was unbelievable. They're selling tuna, like tuna, by which I mean tuna steaks, raw, giant, fresh tuna steaks. Now, I hadn't seen it there before. You look at it, and it looks good. So we grabbed that. There's a couple things I want to tell you about it, right? Like, that tuna was so good and so fresh that I immediately came home, opened up the wrapper, and took a deep smell. And I want to know something. Like, there's no smell of fish. Like, that's when you know you're dealing with some fresh. I took off the wrapper. There's two giant chunks of tuna, raw tuna. You don't smell fish. You just don't. It's just beautiful. So I sliced a couple of like super thin slices, dipped it in just a little bit of soy sauce, and it melted in my mouth, right? So that's good. That's just beautiful. And the next night I took it and superheated up a cast iron grill pan on top of the stove. When I say superheated up, I mean, the smoke is rising from the thing. And on the slab of tuna itself, I put the thinnest coating of canola oil. I don't love canola, but it's what I had. You need a neutral oil, not olive. It could be like a grapeseed oil or something like that, sunflower. Put a little bit of that, rub it on both sides of the tuna. And then I hit it up with like black pepper. I don't mean like a little black pepper. I mean a lot of black pepper. And I don't mean finely ground. I mean as largely ground as you can get, right? So the tuna now is sitting there shimmering with the littlest touch of lubrication and a whole lot of black pepper pressed into both sides, coated. And the grill pan is steaming and sending up, I don't mean steaming, I mean it's firing and sending up smoke. And then the tuna goes in the grill pan. You could hear it hit the pan. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, yeah, that's cooking right there. It's like, oh, sizzling. Now, how long are you going to let that thing sizzle when you have high-quality sushi? Tuna. Sushi grade tuna. Like I say sushi grade because I'm eating it raw, and the next day I'm still here to talk about it, right? And it's beautiful. The fish. How long are you going to let that thing cook, right? And the answer is not too long. As long as you can get a super sear on it. Like that the peppercorns adhere to it. It creates a crust, right? And you could see, because it's a thick piece of tuna. I mean, thing's got to be, and sure, so thick. You can see that, like, the bottom 1/8 of it, you look at on the side, like the bottom 1/8 of it is cooked, and yet the rest of it remains, like, red. And so you flip it over. Maybe that's 2 minutes. I don't know, 2.5 minutes, right? Then you flip it over to the other side, and you cook it as long as it takes to get 1/8 inch, or 1/8 of that slab of protein also cooked. And that middle, though, stays like, raw, to be honest with you. Because we're cooking what the chefs call black and blue. Yeah, right, so you're seared on the outside, you're sushi raw on the inside. You take it off, and you slice it real thin, and you dip it into some decent soy sauce. And it's heavenly. So you may not find this, my friends, in your local Costco. You may not find your tuna there, but, if you do, snag that thing because that's a beautiful piece of fish. And I think, by the way, while we're on the subject, I have to say this, which is that tuna has really changed a lot since when I was a youngster. Because when I was growing up on tuna, they didn't have raw slabs of it that I was aware of. I don't think I mean, I didn't go to a sushi restaurant really. Or when I was a kid, wasn't really a thing. Like, do you want to? I ate tuna as a kid, but it came out of a can. It was bumblebee or it was chicken of the sea. It was chunk light or chunk white or whatever it was. And to be honest with you, I guess every family had their own kind of, tuna fish. Tuna fish was a popular thing. Like that's, you sent people. My mother sent me to school with tuna fish. I mean, she meant well. But she made the you make the tuna fish at 7:30 in the morning before the kid, me, gets on the bus and goes to school. Mother put in the mayonnaise. That's what they did. A little bit of a little bit of chopped up onion, a little bit of celery. It went on for a reason I still can't explain to anybody. It went on white bread. Got wrapped in some type of plastic. This is pre-baggies, believe it or not. Got wrapped in some type of, plastic or aluminum. It went in your lunch bag or your lunch box. Maybe you were lucky and you had some potato chips. They didn't have individual serving size potato chips. Literally, the potato chips were put also in some type of plastic enclosure. And then you had that, and they would throw in the piece of fruit. It could be an apple, it could be a banana, whatever it was. But when you ate it, like lunchtime was, 11:30, 12 o'clock. You're talking 4 hours have elapsed. Took that tuna fish sandwich out of the lunch bag. Damn, that was just horrendous. I mean, seriously, it's like the smell was cat food. Not only wasn't it cold, it was warm. And the bread was no longer bread, it was a sponge. It was just this god-awful kind of soft stench. Inedible. Seriously, I took tuna fish sandwiches to school until junior high when they were real, like, lunch ladies serving food. But, like, for 3 or 4 years, I mean, you threw away the tuna fish sandwich and you just, you chowed down on the potato chips, thankfully, and maybe a banana or apple. Anyway, that was tuna in the old days. And then eventually it got to the point where, you start going to sushi restaurants and tuna's expensive, right? Like that can of tuna was $3 or $4, right? Now one piece of sushi tuna is $4. That was then, right? And then as you graduate, restaurants start serving the tuna like I prepared it. It's not unusual to see that thing. And then the sushi places started serving like not only just regular tuna, but like, hey, here's some tuna with a lot of fat in it. Fatty tuna. Otoro. Beautiful, slimy, meltingly tender piece of fish. $8 for that slice. If I had a sushi place, man, I get my sushi at Costco. Are you kidding me? I could probably have sliced up, 20, 30, 40. I could have sliced up 40 decent slices of tuna off that tuna that I picked up at Costco the other day. Figure, do the price thing in any sushi restaurant. A real super bargain. Anyway, that was tuna then. Tuna now is different. And that's what was at Costco this very week, ladies and germs. Hey, I want to talk to you about a guy whose name is Jose Ramon Andres Puerta, but we call him Jose Andres. And Jose Andres is a Spanish chef. Came here to this country. Super successful guy. Restaurants in Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, South Beach, Florida, and in Puerto Rico. Andres is the guy, by the way, if you don't know, Jose, who was lined up to put one of his restaurants in the Trump International Hotel in Washington, D.C., and then when Trump made disparaging comments about Mexicans and immigrants, Andres withdrew from the deal, and So then the Trump organization sued him, and he sued back, and eventually they came to some settlement, whatever it is. But here's the point that I want to make about Jose Andres. It's not a political one. It's that celebrity chefs, you know what, here's the thing, I'm not impressed for the most part. It's not that there aren't good ones. It's not that there aren't great ones. But, I mean, if you're going to be a chef, what impresses me is, what you cook, what you write, what you do, what you say. I mentioned Colicchio last week because he's kind of a leader in the movement to treat women with dignity and respect in the restaurant industry, which has never really happened. Jose Andres is a hero, my friends. Jose Andres is a hero. Let me tell you why. And he was just, by the way, named the Humanitarian of the Year by the James Beard Foundation. If you don't know, the James Beard Foundation is really kind of the most prestigious food organization in America. That they give out awards every year. It's kind of like your Academy Awards, but it's for food. And Jose Andres was just named their Humanitarian of the Year. He's got an organization, an advocacy group. It's called World Central Kitchen. Long story short, this guy's been going back and forth to Puerto Rico to feed the people down there. Right? I thought when I mentioned it last week, he had served down there hundreds of thousands of meals. I could not have been more wrong. His organization, World Central Kitchen, has now served 3.5 million meals to Puerto Ricans in the wake of the hurricane down there. So, I just want to, I'm just passing on the news, right? I mean, I'm just saying that this guy is a hero. Immigrant, success story, hero, Jose Andres. If you want to call in, kids, you can. I believe, I don't know if it really works, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. It's 800-508-5431. Right. So next up is a discussion of weight management, because I don't know, to me, I gotta be honest with you, that's the tough one. If you like to eat, and you like to eat a lot, it can be difficult to stay fit. In fact, there was a book I read a long, long time ago, and I considered it kind of the Bible on this subject. The book was called Fit or Fat. Fit or Fat. Author, I even remember, Covert Bailey. It was written so long ago that, this is when there were actually books circulation that got printed, and I held on to the book, I read it, and the premise of the book was simple. Fit or fat. Right, that's what it's not like a middle, you're fit or you're fat. And I remember Bailey writing in the book that if you end up taking on like an extra, I don't know, like if you end up with an intake of 10 calories a day, more than what it is that you burn, right? At the end of the year, you've gained 1 pound, which makes sense, right? Because it's 10 calories, 365 days, 3,500 calories is supposed to equal like a pound, right? So like literally you could eat an extra grape a day beyond what it is that you eat now, beyond what it is that you burn. And at the end of the year, you've gained 1 pound. Doesn't sound like a lot until you do it for 20 years. Because then 20 years later, you're 20 pounds overweight. You with me on this? Fit or fat, Covert Bailey. Now, 2018, article in the paper I see yesterday says, fit can mean fat, study says. Exercise may even be more important than the numbers on the scale for obese people looking to be healthier. A new study out of York University in Toronto has found, etc., etc., etc. So, I guess what they've learned now, all these years later, is that perhaps it's possible to be fit and fat. Now, I'm hoping that's the case because, that kind of speaks to me. I would have to say that I qualify for both of those, fit and fat. I like that working out. Underneath all this fat, I appear to be in decent condition from the perspective of your cardio and your weight, your weight bearing, and your flexibility, and whatever the measures of your different studies are. But fit and fat is possible. And here I am, your example of it. I want to. That's a segue, by the way, into the next subject, which is what the heck should I eat? That's coming up. What the heck should I eat? But first, let me tell you about my friends over at King's Row Coffee, who have always been good and supportive. Hang on, I'm sorry for the shuffling of the papers. I will be the first to admit that is annoying, but I want to talk to you about King's Row. I don't have the paper actually even in front of me, which is even worse, but I talked about how, we're kind of addicted to coffee, but I will say that that's okay. If you like it, you're going to have it, and it's certainly readily available. There's a couple of different kinds of coffee drinkers, right? I mean, I think I could be wrong about this, but I think people that just drink tons of it maybe aren't as likely to be kind of precise in their, look, here's what I'm trying to say. You like what you like in the coffee. If you're a person that goes into Starbucks every day, I'm not here to change your mind. If that's what it is that you like, that's all fine. Some people make their own at home. They're perfectly happy getting whatever it is, whatever blend it is that they want, and that's all fine. But I think there's a certain type of person also, and I count myself among these people, that isn't so dedicated to a particular brand or type or an experience, but rather I'm interested in, kind of experimenting. I'm a variety junkie in a lot of ways, but not the least of which when it comes to the coffee. And so I got turned on to King's Row coffee. And I remember tasting it and thinking, oh, this is really good. Hang on a second. I'm going to see if I can find it now because I feel bad about this. King's Row coffee. Where are you? King's. Yeah. King's Row coffee. Sorry about that. I taste this King's Row coffee and I'm thinking, oh, this is really good. What's going on? And it turns out that they have a different philosophy about coffee because basically they blend it. Most coffee is kind of single source, single estate, whatever it is that they call it, comes from one place. No, the folks at King's Row are making coffee as if they're making wine. A lot of the wine that you drink and some of the wine that you like is actually blended. It's 30% Merlot, 20% Syrah, whatever. I mean, it's not unusual to see blends when it comes to wine and grapes and that kind of thing. But it is unusual in coffee. That's what the people at the King's Row are doing differently. They're blending it, right? And it's really extraordinarily great coffee. And so, if you're one of those people that says, hey, I want to try something, different. I want to try something unusual. You may want to contemplate King's Row Coffee. By the way, kingsrowcoffee.com. Telephone 603-782-4327. So, kingsrowcoffee.com, 603-782-4327. Probably 7 or 8 different types of coffee. I've had all of them. Rather than my kind of calling out a specific one that I liked, I will tell you there's an everyday blend. There's one that's what they call coastal. There's another one that's bonbon. I mean, it goes well with, they each go well with different, they each pair well with kind of a different type of, food. King's Row coffee. Interesting, different, good, and certainly worth trying. If you do, go ahead and tell them Rob sent you. On the subject of what the heck should I eat, I would remind you that we seem to know a lot more about food than we've ever known before. We certainly have access to more information than we've ever had about food, right? Because we can watch about it on television, read about it in books, see it online, articles, internet, and we've never really known more about food. And to be honest with you, I don't think that we've ever been more confused. It's still not clear, like what's good and what isn't. And, it's just weird. The rules keep changing, right? This is good for cholesterol. There's good cholesterol. There's bad cholesterol. Fat's no good. Wait a second, but there's healthy fats, and maybe you shouldn't have soy, or you should have soy, and tuna, like I was speaking about before. It seems to be really good in lean protein, but wait, it's not so good because it has mercury, and then I don't know. You have all these things that I read a thing recently that like a chocolate. I think we've read that like dark chocolate is good because it has antioxidant properties. I've certainly read that wine, red wine is good. People drink red wine, live longer. And I read an article recently, and it said that a certain amount of sunshine was good, and I was like, wait a second, I'm going to a skin doctor for the last, like, however many years. They told me to stay out of the sun. Now we see maybe sun is good. Chocolate is really super good for you, even maybe for breakfast. Red wine, a glass or two, maybe equivalent to an hour at the gym. My conclusion was that I need to grab myself some chocolate cake and a box of red wine and go head out to the beach and sit in the sun because I need to get back into shape, So we're confused about food, and then about what's good and what isn't, it changes all the time. So a guy writes a book, not just any guy. Guy's name is Dr. Hyman, Mark Hyman, MD, writes a book he called The Heck Should I Eat? And I know this because I actually see him on television on the show there with Megyn Kelly. And what he's talking about in the book is based on kind of, the most recent evidence. And I think the thing that stood out for me is that they kind of went through, this guy, Dr. Hyman and Megyn went through like 5 different tables, and they kind of exploded some of the myths that we have. Like there was one table that was like a platter of red meat, and next to it was like grilled white meat chicken. So the question was, what's healthier? And the answer was, of course, it was the red meat, right? Why? Because that chicken is chicken that had been shot up with, growth hormones and grain to make it fat, whereas the beef was grass-fed and organic. So there were examples like that, right? And then the last table was like butter, right? And for years, butter is the enemy. Fat in general has been kind of like the enemy. And it turns out, no, there's a difference. There's good fat and there's not so good fat. And so I think one of the other myths that he exploded was crazy. We talk a lot about like whole wheat, right? Bread. It was about bread, right? And it turns out that 2 tablespoons, I believe it was, of table sugar has less of an impact on your kind of like insulin response than whole wheat bread. Like this guy was serious, like bread. He was like anti-bread. Like I'm not saying he was pro-sugar, because obviously he's not. But bread, wheat, whole wheat, even whole wheat is the enemy. Whole grain is different. Like that's okay. Whole wheat, man, he was dead set against bread. But you come to the butter, and he was like, no, they've done studies on butter. It seems to be actually showing a very low link between butter and heart disease. The problem is you can't have it on bread. Defeats the purpose. No, a little cray-cray, if you ask me. Dr. Mark Hyman, Food, What the Heck Should I Eat? That's his book. I should point out, too, by the way, that the guy's written a number of books, one of which shows up on a list called Quack Watch. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that this book does not show up there, but you get 5 books. One of them shows up on Quack Watch, one of his books. But then again, if you look at Quack Watch, which is an indication of books that are unreliable because they promote misinformation or espouse unscientific theories, blah, 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 you're going to see people on that list and names that you recognize, right? Deepak Chopra will be up on that list. Andrew Weil will show up on that list. That all said, you can decide and do the research yourself, but I think in general, it's not. Part of it is what you eat, and part of it is what you ate, what you're eating, what it ate. Yeah. I mean, the first cut for this guy was who made the food? Is it made at some company in a factory, or did God make it? That was his way of saying, you can eat the stuff that's coming directly out of the ground more likely than you can eat the stuff that's coming out of the factory. That goes without saying. But anyway, his book is What the Heck Should I Eat? My conclusion is, if your food is your meat is grass-fed, if the vegetables that need to be organic or organic, and they don't all know. I mean, there's a list, right? There's like a dirty dozen, the clean 15. You look it up, which vegetables and fruits you want to get organically and which you don't. Finally tonight, I want to tell you about a book, because it's the book that I wrote, and I mention it to you because I want to offer it up. I also want to offer up a food tour of New York City. If that's interesting, get in touch with me. There's an article, in fact, that showed up today, which really totally whet my appetite. It's called The Essential Food of New York City, a definitive checklist of the best food in New York. We have some great stuff here, obviously, but that's going to include stuff that you can't always get everywhere else. We do have some pretty killer, delis and pastrami. You got some amazing pizza in the place. We've got great bagels. We've got a lot of good stuff. I'm interested, actually, in taking people on a food tour. If that's interesting, hit me up on that. Let me close out with something about my book. It's called Short Order Dad, One Guy's Guide to Making Food Fun and Hassle-Free. I was looking in right before I had to submit the manuscript. I needed that one introductory page that essentially would lay out kind of like my thinking, my philosophy, the idea, blah, blah, blah. But I took it from somebody else. So I was looking around for what's really representative of the way that I feel I want to write a book. It's not just recipes. This is what you need to know how to cook. As I like to say, I went to cooking school so that you don't have to. I did. And so I'm looking around, and I come across a quote from none other than Jacques Pepin, who legendary French chef. And he writes a quote that I go, oh, wait a second, what's that? He goes, you should have fun in the kitchen and then emerge from it with flavorful, wholesome, attractive dishes that can be served to both family and guests. Unquote. Jacques Pepin. You'd have fun in the kitchen and then emerge from it with flavorful, wholesome, attractive dishes that can be served to both family and guests. And it's so encapsulated, it's so captured, it's so represented what I felt. Fun, food, flavorful food, family, friends. It's so represented that I use that as the front page of my book. Short Order Dad, One Guy's Guide to Making Food Fun and Hassle-Free, which you can find anywhere online. Oh, look at me. I can type while I do this. And here's the thing. I'm going to give away a copy of that book. Maybe 2. And here's what you have to do for it. I feel like a different name for the show than Hot Lunch. Right? In the same way that Pepin's quote kind of captured what it is that I wanted to convey in my book, flavorful food, fun in the kitchen, family and friends. I'm not sure Hot Lunch is the absolute best name. So you will send me a new name for the show, and in turn, I will send you a copy of Short Order Dead, One Guy's Guide to Making Food Fun and Hassle-Free. And if you want, I'll even send you a Short Order Dead pan scraper, really one of the most valuable tools that a human can have in the kitchen, the pan scraper, because if you're cooking, somebody's cleaning. And if somebody's cleaning, there's going to be something left in the bottom of the pan that needs to be cleaned up, and I have the tool for it. I'm going to send it to you with a copy of my book. If you come up with the new name for this podcast, you hear me, my friends? So, I'm Rob Rosenthal. This was the Hot Lunch Podcast. I am thrilled that you joined me, and I'm going to come back next Wednesday night. It's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the same bat channel, which is to say Armed Radio. Tune in here. I'll send you the tune-in information if you're interested. And until next week, remember this, my friends, life is short. Never waste a meal.
I'm the Teflon Pan Man. I'm the Teflon Pan Man. Ain't nothing gonna stick on